everyone. I'm Françoise Lamotte in Switzerland.
Hi, this is Dominik Muggli in the San Francisco Bay Area. Our podcast, The Digital Edge, brings our perspectives on the digital revolution with a cutting edge angle. Today, we're discussing how to measure success of digital transformation. So, Françoise, what do you think? How we should or could measure that?
First, I think it's a very important topic. As we say, what is not measured is not managed. So I think that, digital transformation, as any other big program of transformation in an organization, needs to be measured. Now, I think, there are many ways or many angles to look at that. Maybe a first cut is to say, that's my view, that we should not measure digital transformation as such, but we should measure the business outcome, because at the end, digital transformation is working for the purpose of the strategy. And, it should really tie very nicely to the strategic indicators. That's a bit of a rough cut, but more precisely, I think there are sub-indicators of digital transformation that are still interesting to see, whether it's about, adoption of the solution by the employees or by the customers, whether it's about, efficiency measures that are linked to an automatized process. I think there are, still indicators that are very tied to the digital transformation itself that are worth measuring, when we are in that process. What is your view?
Um, I think one of the things that resonates with me, what you just said, is not making digital transformation its own thing within an organization, right? It really serves its purpose, like you said, to advance an organization's objectives that it's aiming to achieve. Now, you know, uh, thinking about this, and from my experience, what I see is that the realization of digital transformation is an extreme challenge for many organizations. And even though, again, business outcomes has to be probably the first and foremost priority in all of this, but in order to measure this, right, and I think, again, operational efficiency, cost savings, what have you, customer experience, innovation, staying ahead of the game, being making a great place to work, for example. I think that all ties together. But if I think about what's the ultimate measurement of digital transformation, it's really an organization's ability to deliver the change rapidly. And so the reason why I'm saying this, right, because digital transformation, unlike many other initiatives that companies have, is something that is technology driven, which evolves rapidly. And so, in order to maintain pace with that external change that we have, the only thing that an organization can do to stay ahead is basically getting really, really good at executing from idea to getting it into people's hands, whatever that may be, internally, externally, and making that time very, very short so that value can be realized rather quickly.
So
What
if
do you
I
think
understand,
about that summarized take on that?
so if I understand your point of view, you say that the ultimate measure of digital transformation is velocity or something like that. The ability to change fast.
Yes, I would frame it in that way, because, again, to me, if you can execute quickly, you can learn fast, and you can understand what the value can be brought, right? Because we see many digital initiatives that sometimes are overestimated in the value they can bring,
Hmm.
because we also don't understand, or we're not so good at uh, delivering digital transformation change. And that's why it's difficult to predict, right? And I think if an organization gets really, really good at that, at delivering, it will also be good at measuring the opportunity and executing upon it, and pivot also very quickly if necessary.
I would complement your point by also, the ability to maybe select the right technology or the right business model, and sometimes being able to jump ahead. I'm just thinking, in countries in Africa, for example, where internet and bandwidth was always a challenge. Business models have jumped from almost nothing to mobile and
Yeah.
skipping the whole internet thing. So I think it's also this ability to pick on the right technology and being a bit futuristic, maybe driven, and looking what makes sense and adopting the right path. I think that's there is also maybe a measure of being insightful and strategic in the choices that an organization makes.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Being entrepreneurial about it and being open to change, right? And again, I think it ties in with the external environment, right? Technology changes so fast that many companies can't even keep up with implementing or even trying technology that may or may not help them, right? And so you kind of limp behind trends. Now, of course, many companies just look at the competition, and if they're not falling behind, it's not that serious. But I think if you can overcome that sentiment and really look beyond industry trends and what might be what is known to be possible, and like you said, just jump ahead 2 steps, you can do differently, even though nobody else has done it before, right? And that takes a little bit of experience, I think, and trust, and that organizational agility to achieve that.
So if I build on your point, I mean, beyond the classical measures of, productivity and output driven by digital transformation, maybe we need to introduce some indicators tied more to the culture of the organization, velocity, agility, forward looking. I mean, those types of behaviors and values maybe in some organization could be good measures and drivers of success.
Yes, it could very well be. And it really starts in the governance of change, right? I mean, we both have experienced situations where maybe an organization had great ideas, had a great strategy, but then all of a sudden, when it came about to fund an initiative, for example, and prioritize initiatives and having the trust in their people to take ownership and execute, that's when it started slowing down, right? Because it had to be prioritized, the personnel had to fit in, and there are other mission critical activities going on, and maybe the confidence in the organization to deliver was not very high, right? And then it starts slowing down, and you have this sometimes really long lead time until you can even start to execute and turn those ideas and that technology into a real solution for the benefit of the organization.
And do you think that might change with AI? I mean, is this bringing something new? I mean, just to explain where I'm coming from, you know, uh, measuring as we are used to measuring output or incremental improvements
Yeah.
is what we have done so far. But with AI, it's might be more about augmenting humans and augmenting our activities. So I'm thinking maybe the measurement with AI is going to be slightly different. It's not, it's not the traditional way of comparing the productivity of a person. For example, if someone writes a letter with AI, how do you measure? Is it an improvement or in terms of maybe time, but also in terms of relevance? So, how are we going to measure that, which is, an even more complex situation? I don't know what you think.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was just thinking, if we if we were to apply that measure of speed from idea to technology being used for good purposes, then if you say that, hey, we have somebody who is using AI to write a letter and save time as a result, I would put actually the measurement and the value on that person's ability to adapt this new way of working. And even in some cases, right? I mean, some companies, they just open up the tools, AI chatbots, for example, in this case, to their employees and leave them alone, right? Maybe there's a little bit of help and training, but otherwise they just say, oh, look, we have now ChatGPT for enterprise. And it's then up to the individuals to say, you know what, I'm going to go learn this and I'm going to start using it. And I want to know how that works, right? Which is completely different than the traditional, mega digital transformation initiatives with, say, monolithic, super large enterprise software like an ERP solution or something like that, right? That can take years and dozens of people working in unison and coordination. Of course, completely different scale, right? But I think it's the ability of people in an organization to adapt to that change, right? With speed and quickness. And if that can be achieved, I think that's, then you can basically learn and change and try anything as new opportunities with technology come up.
So Dominik, we are coming to an end. So I'm just trying to, summarize our discussion. And I think what we came about is, the real measure of success for digital transformation is, the ability of the organization to adapt fast to a very agile environment. And this can be measured by the ability of employees to adopt the new technologies and the ability of the business or the business model also to change with the pace of technology. Thank you, Dominik, for the discussion.
My pleasure, Françoise.
So next time we'll be sharing our greatest success in digital transformation. Bye.
Should be fun. Looking forward to it.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.